Well, so from what you're hearing though, it sounds like people aren't willing to invest with John Fisher, right? Like people don't want to get in, like even the heavy hitter, like not even the casinos, but just private, rich individuals in Vegas. He doesn't have much support there. Is that from what you're hearing? Yeah.
No takers. That's what I've heard is, I assume in your world, people either know or could guess that he was looking for a minority owner. He I think wants to try and sell uh, minority ownership in the team. There are no takers
Wow.
because I think all they have to do is meet with them. The only people he can get to agree with his take on what could happen are the people he's paying, like applied analysis, where they're talking about all these projections of revenue,
Jimmy
tax
Aguero.
revenue.
Yeah, Jimmy
I
Aguero for
mean,
the record.
it,
Yeah.
it just gets old.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many times this guy's called out for being wrong, for, with F1, it's a perfect example. They
One
only shared,
$1.5 billion F1.
that was exactly right. And he was paid to fluff up the numbers, but it, you can't just show, I tweeted about this, like you can't just show one column on the sheet. There's debits and credits, right? There's a cost and benefit to everything. You can't just show what the benefits were. Whatever that number was, and it wasn't 1.5 billion, but whatever that number was, you have to deduct 9 months of disruption to traffic, to businesses that have said, I lost millions of dollars, to shows that lost $500,000 just on F1 weekend. Like you can't ignore those costs. So it's not so much that he also fabricates numbers, but that's
Scott,
because he's being paid to do that. He's a booster for the people he works for, which is like the LVCVA.
Scott,
It
I
gets
think
old.
if you'll find that if you look at the numbers, the uh, the president of F1 paid himself $1.5 billion. So $1.5 billion was moved from one account to a different account by the same guy. And you'll find that in fact all the numbers, add up. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of and I've always said this because if for folks that might not know, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, they're the agency. They're paid by tax money from room taxes. They are paid to promote and advance Las Vegas, like in the world stage, to drive convention business, to build the reputation of Las Vegas, and to bring big events to Las Vegas, like NPR or whatever. So they hire this analyst to say, we're thinking about this event. How much impact will this have? Is the Super Bowl good or bad for Vegas? Well, some of those numbers are concrete because you can see reports of revenue, you can see room occupancy and things like that. But there's so many intangibles. Those numbers are rarely reliable. And because there's just the one analyst doing the numbers, and nobody in the media or in the financial world is questioning them, they just accept it as fact. F1 is the first time I've seen an independent kind of group or company or publication say these numbers are not based on facts. You've missed it by a substantial amount. It's the first time I've ever seen that happen, because nobody questions these numbers. It's like when the airport says, yeah, 52 million passengers this month. That's not true. There were not 52 million passengers, because if you land and take off, you're two passengers. Like but nobody questions it. Everybody in the local media is like 52 million passengers. Holy cow. It's not factually accurate, or that's just a term the airline industry uses for, if somebody's passing through, that's a passenger, two passengers, I don't know. But I only know the surface level of all these subjects. I'm a generalist. I only know enough to be a smartass. And then people are like, well, do you have better numbers than Jeremy Aguero? And I'm like, no, I just know they're wrong. I'm not an analyst. I can tell bullshit.
Yeah.
and I know what the bullshit, where the bullshit's coming from and why it happens. So, but I don't have a team of people who can break down those numbers. You know who should? The Las Vegas Review-Journal, our paper of record. You should have journalists going, these are very questionable numbers. They're promoting an agenda, and the agenda is that sports help Vegas. Well, the Super Bowl does, but nobody knows if F1 does. And I'm on the team of people saying it's hurt more than it helped. So.
Well, it seems like Mick Akers of the Review Journal is in Cavill's pocket as well. It seems like he's pretty much lockstep with their PR message. It seems like he's pretty much saying whatever that he wants the A's to say, you know, and that's kind of surprising to me because I always thought, you know, the paper of record, but it seems like no, they're just bought off as well, right? I mean, yeah.
I don't think like bought off, not like financially, but in Vegas, the way it works, and the A's, it applies in this situation too, is if you want access, you can't rock the boat. And it's the reason I'm blacklisted at a number of venues by a number of casinos, not like 86th officially, but you're on their shit list basically. It's because if Akers says something where he has his own opinion about something, they'll just cut him off. So that next phone call he wants to make to the owner of the team, they're not going to take it. So now you've lost access to key people that you want to be able to talk to. But, you know, Johnny Katz is another one. Johnny Kleptomedes here in Vegas. He cannot say a negative word about a show because you'll lose access to performers, to directors. Same in the restaurant world. You can't have an opinion about restaurants because the chef will never talk to you. You'll never, and sometimes an entire resort, they'll blacklist you for something you said about a restaurant because they're all in the same family, right? So the next time I don't get invited to restaurant openings for the most part. I don't get invited to show openings because they know if I go and it's not good, I'm going to say it. So they're kind of stuck, and it's easy to, you know, like these journalists are not paid very much, and the Las Vegas Review Journal just does not have very high journalistic standards, to be honest. They don't have any real editorial guidance. A lot of stuff they do is really unethical.
Adelsons, right?
Yes. And they say they're not.
Bought it, they fired a ton of people, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people
tried
quit.
To keep it a secret. They tried to keep it a secret that they had bought it. It was like really shady, right?
It was shady. A lot of people just left outright. And those were all the people with experience and talent and integrity, because the reporters are going to do what they're going to do, but it's the management level and the editors who are really in charge of journalistic integrity and not being beholden to anybody. But it's a failing, you know, newspapers are a failing business. They lose $1 million a year at least, that the Adelsons just suck up because they like owning a newspaper and they might need them at some point. But they lost all the seasoned journalists and editors. There was an exodus. So now we have nothing. Las Vegas Sun is not a player. Any of these, it's really bad. So when schmoozers like the A's come into town.
There's another outlet that's published a lot of more critical, I think John Raw.
The Nevada Independent?
Yeah, Ralston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do.
It seems like they're actually a paper.
Yeah, they cover the subject of politics very thoroughly, and some sports. It's like a nonprofit. It's not like a traditional journalistic outlet. I think they criticized me at one point, so I don't read it anymore. I blacklisted them.
It goes two ways.